This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi everyone, this is Darrell Lonnie. I'm the radio voice of the Beavers, sitting in tonight for Bob Akamian and welcoming you to the Jimmy Anderson Show. Before we go any further, we should congratulate Bob Akamian and his wife Carol, parents of a brand new baby daughter, Elaine Elizabeth, 5 pounds 6 ounces, born Sunday night. And we're happy to report that all three are doing well. Coach Anderson, I'm not sure whether I welcome you or you welcome me.
Well, I think I should welcome you, Darrell.
Oh, believe me, I'm happy to be with you. And it's not true that I'm in this role this evening because you and I go to the same barber, right?
That's right. Now, I'll tell you what, being a substitute's a tough job.
It is.
You've got to perform immediately, don't make any mistakes, and be positive, plus factors right from the start. So let's get on with it.
Or I'll be back on the bench again. Jimmy, not a fruitful week in terms of wins, obviously. 2 very close games, but we should point out the factor that really your team could have won either game, California Thursday night or Stanford on Saturday.
Well, we had our chances, and you're exactly right. Kidd took it away from us in the first night against Cal. It just seemed like when we were getting right at the threshold of maybe pushing it over to our side, he took over the game. And in just a short 2, maybe 3 minutes, he was out of reach. Against Stanford, it was a little different story. They were up at 10 or 11 points going in the last few minutes. We made a big surge. We picked up almost 11 points in about a minute. And we had the last shot to win it, and it fell us off to the side someplace. Now it's history, 2 losses.
Went right down to the wire. Let's take a look at the California highlights as we talk about Jason Kidd and Lamond Murray. Those are the star players of the Bears. Jimmy, as we get into the highlights, maybe start with Jason Kidd. Everybody's All-American, rumored to be headed for the NBA maybe 1 year from now. He's some player, isn't he?
Well, he's a great player. He's an impact player when he's on the floor, his leadership, his toughness, his hustle. One of his weakest points is shooting, but in this particular game, it seemed to be one of his strengths. But he gets assists, he gets steals, and you have to be very careful when he's around the ball.
We're watching highlights right now of the first half. Very close, wasn't it? Back and forth, 2-4, 6-point lead for Cal. You got back in it, tied the game, but a very close game.
Well, we did some very fine things. Jerron Brown, for example, had 18 rebounds. I felt that the defense on Kidd for most of the game was outstanding. But then when he took over, it was just history. And I think Kareem Anderson did an excellent job defending Lamont Murray. He had one of his worst shooting nights of the year.
7 of 25 for Murray. Here are the Beavers running the break. Seemingly, as you mentioned, you were right in this game until Jason Kidd takes it over. And he scores something like 3-4 field goals in a row. There's a nice play going to the hoop with the left hand. He uses both hands very well, doesn't he?
Right. Well, you have to play him almost perfect. You can't give him any little edge any place because he can slide through a keyhole and he can take it to the hoop. He can dish it. You just have to really concentrate and play perfect basketball.
Young man that we saw hitting the three-pointer just the sequence before will be a guest later on, David Drakeford. Playing very well, isn't he, Jimmy?
Doing an excellent job, especially as a freshman. And this time of the year, freshmen start playing a little better, so we're expecting a better second half of the season than we did the first.
Murray, we talked about Murray's poor shooting night. There he misses again, and Oregon State gets the rebound. Good transition down floor. Nice pass by Brent.
Well, if we use the pass like we're capable of, I think we're going to get nothing but better and better. It's just a matter of all the players realizing how effective we can be when we pass the ball, just like you saw on film.
There was an Oregon State turnover, and turnovers hurt you in this game, didn't they, Coach?
Well, it seemed like every turnover we had was a conversion for them on the offense. And so you're exactly right. When you make turnovers against a team like Cal, they can capitalize quickly.
That was a great pass here. Stephen Brown, Jimmy underneath to Drakeford, open for the lay-in.
Well, here again, Brent and Stephen are 2 assist people. And when they're going strong, like just there, we're very, very effective on offense.
Stephen with a nice pass to Brent Berry. Good anticipation there by Brent to step in.
Well, he's our leading assist man. A tremendous lay-in by David, accelerating into the hoop and not letting the defense bother him.
Still a close game right here. David with a 3 from the near side. And a nice drive to the hoop here by Brent. Really accelerated. You'd like him to do that more, wouldn't you, Jimmy?
Well, we like to be assertive. We like, if you're going to use the dribble, it has to have a purpose and it should be going to the basket. Other than that, we like to pass and cut and use some maneuvers on offense to keep us organized.
Now here's the problem. Jason Kidd hitting the 3. You mentioned earlier that his shooting is sometimes down, but it wasn't in this game. He hits all the big shots in this game. Here's a nice drive to the hoop.
See, that hurt us. The turnover hurt us again, as you alluded to earlier. It seemed like every turnover we had turned into a layup for them.
California during this sequence able to break away from a very slim lead, up their lead to 9. Kidd hitting again. Here's Jason with the ball again. Crossover dribble into the lane.
Well, see, if you just relax a minute. We relaxed on the defense just for a second, and he just takes it right on the way to the hole.
And I think we're getting our point across. Everybody can see how many baskets he makes in this game at a key time in the game.
Because he was pretty quiet for most of the game. In fact, most of the spectators say, hey, he is human. But when he took over, it became very, very aware to the fact that he was an alien from a different planet.
After the game, Brent Berry and Jason Kidd getting together. Here are the stats on the game. Very close in shooting, Jimmy, and rebounding. Your team's been down in that department most of the year. Stay right in it with Cal in this game.
Well, the turnovers was one of the major factors here, and when they're converting at that percent and you have turnovers, that ups their advantage very quickly.
And we should point out that last stat, Jerron Brown, career high 18 rebounds. Great night on the boards.
Well, that was the reason it was much closer than we've been in past games.
Now, that was an exciting game. However, on Saturday, we were in for a real flying finish in the Stanford game, and we'll come back and review those highlights right after this break. Welcome back, everyone. Saturday afternoon, Game 2 of Dad's Weekend, Oregon State versus Stanford. And wow, what a finish we had to this game, Coach.
Well, it was a finish, but it wasn't the right kind of finish. The script was wrong in regards to the last shot. Other than that, I think it was an entertaining game for all the crowd that was there. We had pretty close to 10,000 people. The players on both sides played very hard. It was pretty free of mistakes, just hard work, good execution, and a very exciting game.
All right, let's get into the Stanford highlights and take a look at this game, which is a little bit like the Californian game in that it's close for a long stage during the game before Stanford is able to really take what we thought at the time was a commanding lead in the second half. Here we go into the first half. Let's talk about their two forwards a little bit, Jimmy. Andy Popink and Brent Williams. Wow, they had great games, didn't they, against
Well,
you?
that just showed Popnik hitting a lane and hustling down the floor, and Williams coming with the ball here. Very active forwards, both about 6'7", and they were the gentlemen that really put the nails in our coffin. They played hard defense, scored lots of points, hurt us on the backboards. It's amazing because we were worried really about their guards more than their forwards, and we took care of their guards and their center, and their two forwards just blistered us.
Nice transition basket here by the Beavers off a steal. As you're talking about the guards, Brevin Knight winds up with no field goals in the game, 0 for 6 or 0 for 7. Deion Cross winds up only 1 for 9, and I know that was one of your fears going into the game. Gee, if we tell you that they go 1 for 15, Coach, you'd have to think you'd win the game.
Well, the overall percentage shooting for them was right around 34%, and we shot better than them. The backboards hurt us, and then free throw shooting. And of course, we fouled a little at the end. There's a beautiful play by Jelani hustling for the ball and then feeding it off the ground. But in a way, the free throws and rebounds really done us in.
We're going to see more of Jelani a little bit later on. He stepped forward and did some things in this game for you, didn't he?
Well, he's been playing a lot harder recently, and when he's working hard, and he's a good little passer, he's an adequate shooter, and the thing that he adds to us is a little hustle and toughness, and right now that's what we need.
Getting some penetration, and Stephen Brown with a tough turnaround jumper that he hits. Here's what happened too much in the game, Brent Williams.
Well, offensive board, nobody's with him, he gets the rebound, puts it back in. He did that several times.
This is one of the times that Stanford was able to get the ball over the top and down deep. They did it with both the guys we're talking about, Popink and Williams. Here's a nice steal, nice look away, and then the pass to Brent for the lay-in, Jimmy.
Well, here again, our passing between those two are some of the highlights. We just need to keep doing a better job on the backboards, and free throw shooting was, we shot, I think, like 18 free throws, and they shoot 40-some, 48 free throws, and that kind of differential is going to hurt you.
The jump ball, we should mention, the major tie-up was between Darren Holloway, who comes off the bench for Stanford, and then your big center, Jerron Brown. Jerron got in foul trouble again in this game.
There's 32 again. He had, what, 26, 28 points?
Andy Popink.
Yeah.
Nice lean-in jump shot. Stanford on the break. And that's when Jerron picks up his 5th personal foul. Only played 21 minutes in this game, got 2 early fouls. Look at this shot by David Drakeford.
Well, it could have been a 4-point play, which is very unusual, but if I recall, David kind of missed the free throw, hits the 3, and it would have been fun to get 4 quick points.
There's David Brown now with the steal and the immediate jumper in the corner. The Beavers are rallying from 11 down now in the last 50 seconds of the game. Now Stanford in backcourt going to get a 10-second violation here. Big call, Jimmy.
Well, there was some complaint on this. They were yelling, Stanford that is, that it was like 7 or 8, 9 seconds, and we of course thought it was 10, and we got the call. Here's a 3.
Big shot by Jelani Bolin. And there's the foul. You immediately take the foul. That's the correct play, and David Harbour goes to the line for Stanford to shoot 2. Didn't see the first one. He missed that.
He
misses
it
again.
Yeah.
Here's Brent. Nice drive to the hoop. 2-point game now, Coach.
And here's the out-of-bounds play that they kick out of bounds.
There goes the ball out of bounds. So now it's timeout. 9 seconds left, and you're only down 2. Now here's a
Screen for Brent. There comes Brent. Takes a shot. Hits the front rim and out. We foul immediately. They score 2. They win by 4.
And he was wide open. Now, Jimmy, talk about, here's the stats, then I'll have you review the play. Shooting percentages, Stanford only shoots 33%, but offensive rebounds killed you in this game, didn't they? 21-4.
But look at the free throws too, Darryl, though.
Yes.
That's a big factor.
Yes. Brent, 19 points, 5 rebounds. Good game. There's Popik and Williams that we're talking about on the bottom.
And Stephen Brown had a very steady game.
All right, Lyle, let's go back to the last sequence where Brent takes the wide open three-point shot. You had called timeout there. What'd you tell the team? What did you want to run?
Well, actually, we were talking about it, and Larry Harris said, let's just go quick. So he's the one that basically suggested screen down for Brent and just let him take it to the hole. And that's the way it was set up, and it worked perfectly. And he had the drive through the middle. We were hoping for 2 points, possibly a foul on the shot, maybe go into overtime, because it usually goes to the home court on overtime. So he took the shot instead. It fell off, and rest history.
Yeah, and unfortunately came so close to being a hero, but the shot unfortunately wouldn't not go down. Now, we've been referring to David Drakeford, a lot of plays that he makes in this game. We're going to meet David Drakeford when we come back after this break. Welcome back, everybody. Let me introduce you now to Oregon State starting guard, only a freshman, 5'11", out of Placentia, California, David Drakeford. David, 1 year ago, you're playing high school basketball at Mater Dei. Did you have any thoughts at that time that you'd be playing university basketball and getting the amount of minutes that you're getting right now with Oregon State?
Definitely not. A year ago when I was playing at Mater Dei, I just hoped that I'd be able to come into Oregon State and contribute to the team, help them out in any way I could, but I never thought that I'd be averaging 30-something minutes a game.
It's kind of a nightmare for you in terms of defensive assignments. This last weekend, we've watched footage now of Stanford and California. Jason Kidd, California, your responsibility Thursday. Brevin Knight, your responsibility with Stanford. And we go on down the line. Tyus Edney of UCLA, etc. You like the challenge?
Definitely. I love the challenge. That's why I came to play basketball in the Pac-10. I like to play against all the great premier point guards of the Pac-10 also.
Now let's go back to Mater Dei High School for a second. You had a heck of a high school team there. Wound up playing in a big game against another one of Oregon State's recruits that our fans haven't gotten a chance to see yet this year, Sonny Benjamin. Tell us about the game.
Well, I was a junior and Sonny was also a junior at the time. We found ourselves playing for the CIF championship in Southern California. Sonny was a great player. I think he might have had about 15 or 20 points that game. I might have had about 13 or 15 that game. We were both kind of going at it, but you know, that we never got to guard each other because of the height advantages. But he had a great team also. But we ended up winning the game by 10 points.
Two of your former prep teammates are at the University of Arizona. Tell our viewers about those guys.
Well, Dylan Rigdon, who is a senior now at Arizona, and Reggie Gary, who's a sophomore at Arizona, were both high school teammates of mine, both very competitive and gave me some of the drive and desire that I have for the love for the game of basketball today.
We're going to pretend the coach doesn't hear this, but you were named the best defensive player at Lute Olson's camp, junior in high school, right?
Yes. The summer before my junior year, I was at Lute Olson's camp. The thing that happened was he invited our team to come out and play in the camp for about a week of the summer, and we went out there, and I just played as hard as I could and ended up being the best defensive player in the camp.
Academically, what are you interested in? Have you declared a major yet?
I'm majoring in business right now. I'd like to go into international business.
And we should point out before we let you go that someone who looks a little like you, we see at practices and a lot of games. Who's that?
Oh, that's my father. He loves to come out and support me. He always has supported me, and I really like to have him at the games.
David, thanks for being with us. We wish you nothing but the best. I know Beaver fans very encouraged that you're going to be around for another 3 years.
Thank you.
Okay, David Drakeford. Well, one of my favorite all-time players at Oregon State University was A.C. Green with the L.A. Lakers, now with the Phoenix Suns. And the host of this show, Bob Akamian, ran into A.C. and had a conversation with him.
I know your consistency is what people point at as maybe the best part of your overall game. Are you proud of that you've been so consistent in games played, keeping the shooting percentage up over the years?
Well, I'm happy with all that, but I think really all that sort of starts in your early days, your mental attitude about basketball. I think in high school, it really helped me at Benson High School there with Coach Dick Gray, developing a right attitude, and then playing with Coach Ralph Miller and Coach Jimmy Anderson at Oregon State in particular. That sort of helped continue my development of my professionalism toward basketball. And so those are the days and those are the times that really a person develop as a player. And I think once you get to the professional ranks, you sort of can't forget, sort of where you came from, and those that sort of help you along the way. So I'm happy with the consistency, but I'm really grateful for those that sort of help develop that inside of me.
Do you have any words for Jimmy Anderson right now? They're going through some tough times with guys hurt, and it's probably the worst year for injuries in the history of that program down there.
Well, you just have to keep playing. You got to go with whatever you have. I mean, we're in the similar kind of situation. The game isn't based as far as your love and your intent and interest of the game just on wins and losses. I still love all my teammates, even though they might be hurt. Now, they might not be helping me at all right now. I still love them the same, and I think the fans in particular have to feel the same way toward Coach Anderson as well as to other student athletes down there trying to give it all they have. You only can give what you can, and after that, you got to stick together and sort of continue to be the family that's going to make it a win or lose situation.
Finally, tell me about having the number retired back at Benson High School. That's got to take you back a little bit.
Yeah, that was great. I really enjoyed being there. I enjoyed seeing all the familiar faces there, Coach Gray, all my other coaches, Coach Bill Rana there, Coach Dressel. A lot of people, as I said, that sort of helped develop me as a person, and I'm very appreciative of that, as well as just the whole PIL back then. That was a lot of fun. I don't know if I deserve it or not, but I will say that I'm very happy that it happened, and have my family there especially.
You gave Dad a nice little surprise there.
Yeah, he was happy. He was surprised, and hopefully he'll enjoy it. He deserves it more than anything else. He really deserves it. All right. Thank you.
A caddy for Daddy. That's what A.C. Green's father received that day. What a great guy A.C. Green, huh, Jimmy?
Well, you can't beat him. Always a great worker, always loyal to his friends, never says a bad word about anybody. He's one of the persons that you probably remember more so than anybody. And I think this kid next to me here, too, has those kind of qualities. He's very unselfish. He works hard. He wants to do the right thing, and that's the way A.C. always was, too.
This is the week for those of us who know the coach in which he gets a little uptight, and that's putting it kindly. This is Oregon Week. It's meeting number 3, the Ducks and the Beavers, coming up this weekend. And we'll come back and preview that Saturday game right after this break. Welcome back, everybody. With us now, assistant coach of the Beavers, Andy McCloskey. Andy's been scouting Oregon for some time. Tell our viewers what we can see or expect to see Saturday from Oregon, Andy.
What I'm going to go over today is Oregon's early offense. What they'll do is they'll run a post player down the floor as far as possible, have two wings, the 2 and the 3-man in the corner. Wilkins will bring the ball as quickly as he can. Here I've got the 2-man throwing it to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 3. Then as that happens, the 2-man will come from the corner and set a back screen. Our man who's guarding the 2-man's obviously got to make sure he's talking this screen right here. As 5 goes around, the guy who's guarding the 5 in the orange here needs to make sure that he gets by this screen and into the paint. Then from there, what they do is they have the 2-man step out. So on the second board here, 2 will get the ball from 3, and then there's an inside screen. The 4 and the 5 have to make sure that they're communicating this play through here. And on the play that you'll see on the screen, they eventually get the ball back to Wilkins, and he goes one-on-one from the perimeter.
University of Oregon's record, 6-12 overall, 2-7 in the league. Jimmy, you've met this team twice. Let's start with the first game. Have you comment on the Far West Classic Championship that you won in Portland?
Well, that brought home the trophy to Oregon State, and that was a fine game for us. We started to click during that period of time and played some of our best basketball. However, the second game down at the pit was the one we really wanted, and they took it to us early. We made a good run at the end, but all in all, it's 1-1, and this is the game now that you got to say is the real counter, because somebody's going to be 2 and somebody's just going to have that 1.
To their credit, they really came out with great intensity at the game at McCord, didn't they, Jimmy? And got an early lead.
Took the defense to us, Darryl, really, and they stripped our point guard and our leaders on the floor, and they shot pretty well to start with. Our pressure wasn't effective. Their backboard play was better than ours. And just to be very honest with it, although we did make a surge at the end, they just played a better game. And that's about all you can say. We'd like to make excuses, but all in all, it was their game, and we didn't respond competitively like we need to if we want to get a win.
At home this weekend, home helps in this series, doesn't it?
It helps any team, but you still have to play good basketball. You have to play hard, you have to play smart, intelligent basketball, and that's what we plan to do.
I've enjoyed every minute of this with you. I'd like to do this again. Thank you, Coach. Thanks to all of our viewers. Hope you're with us Saturday, Gill Coliseum, Oregon and Oregon State, third time around.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Akamian, along with the coach. Welcome to this week's edition of the Jimmy Anderson Show. We're talking Oregon State basketball. You know, we played this Civil War series with Oregon, 299 times now, and I can't remember a longer, more drug-out, agonizing game, and you've seen enough of these. I don't think you've seen one like this either.
Well, I've been involved with 114 of them as a player and as a coach, and I know when we got through with this game, I was drained right to the bottom.
101-91, the Beavers win in overtime last Saturday, getting ready to head up to the Washington Schools this week. And obviously you end a losing streak. Any win like that has to be refreshing, but when you're that physically tired, I mean, do you come out of there thinking, all right, we get something out of this, or is it almost we won the survival test?
No, you get something out of it. There's always something good coming from winning. Losing, sometimes you wonder about what you gained, but I think our players felt that they won a good game, a tough contest, came back several times to win it. Also, I think our younger players got their feet wet in regards to what the rivalry is all about. So there were some very definite pluses, and we had some young players show their grit. We had some excitement, but all in all, it wasn't a real fun game to coach.
I guess
because
not.
it was too draining.
Well, we are going to talk with one of the heroes of the game, Jelani Boleen, with us a little later on in the show. We'll also get our blast from the past. Charlie Sitton checks in. He has a very different career now since he's left the game of basketball. But first to last week's game. First half action from Gill Coliseum. Jerry Green bringing the Ducks in. Scotty Haskin back in town, taking advantage of the NBA's All-Star break. He's honored before the game. When we get down to business, Kareem Anderson right off the bat hits the three. These are his only points because he has to sit down with a bad back.
Well, he practiced all week about half speed with a bad back, and you could tell as we went along, just his movement alone was very painful. So we substituted, and he didn't get very many minutes.
Daryl Parker getting into the act early on for the Ducks, working against Stephen Brown. But the Ducks made mistakes early on, and he really kept the pressure on him, got the turnovers early.
Well, David Drakeford did an excellent job on the defense there, making Wilkins force a shot. Then he got the rebound and brought it all the way for a nice little jumper.
Of course, with Kareem out of the game, Tony Rockland in early on, goes backdoor from Brent Berry. And after the Ducks build an early lead, you put on a 10-0 run and really take control in the first half.
Well, it was a physical game, and there was a lot of fouls called. As we show the film, and the statistics will show, lots of people fouled out. Lots of tough action, a lot of tough post play. Everybody was hustling. Here's a good play for our side.
Steph Brown, we're changing direction of the ball in midair. We'll get a look at that again. He finds David Drakeford.
A little bit over the head there, but it was an open court pass and not a risky pass at that.
Steph now will hit the three. He was active all over the court. Now it's a 6-point game. And now Brent Berry is going to come up with a steal, and he's going to find Drakeford again, and David will hit the jumper.
Well, that's one thing Brent does great, is that he has good eyes, he positions himself, and he gets a lot of interception. One of the Pac-10 leading interceptors that we have.
Brent came up with 3 steals in this game and 8 assists. So after that run, again, you're up by 6. Now the Ducks get things going. Madden was really their key on offense in the first half as Orlando Williams was still warming up. But Henry came off the bench, hits a couple of big hoops, gets them right back into it.
Well, you can see that they're beating the backboards and they're going to the low post. And with our youth and lack of physical strength, it was one of the best things they could do for their side, and it hurt us.
Another one for the highlight films for Bones. Brent Berry makes it 23-19. And again, the Ducks powering their way inside off a missed free throw. Parker gets it, draws the foul. This ends up being a 5-point play.
Seems like all year long, off free throws, we lose more balls. It's amazing.
Jerron Brown working hard
Good
for a
hustle
rebound.
there.
Jerron 18 boards, tying his career best. He has been on fire the last couple of games inside. Draws the foul now.
Well, I think we're passing the ball better. We're executing our offense better. If we don't turn the ball over as many times and make some bad shot selection when we had a 15-point lead, we would have been a lot more proud of the win than it was at the end.
So it's a 3-point game at halftime, 37-34, and already people are talking about the physical nature in this game. 7 guys foul out of the game for both teams, and there could have been more. Here are the halftime numbers quickly. Beavers shooting the ball very well, hitting from the outside, the rebounding dead even. You gotta like that. Turnovers have evened out after an early edge for Oregon State. Individually, it was David Drakeford in the first half. 13 points, 5 rebounds, and Madden really was the only guy who had it going for Oregon. And you're feeling pretty good at halftime after a slow start.
Well, we're feeling pretty good, but 13 turnovers for us is ridiculous. I don't think, with our passing skills and ability, I don't think we should average more than 10 to 12 turnovers in a game. You have 13 at halftime. That certainly doesn't show that you're using good judgment. I don't think their defense was that great. Normally, if they're playing great defense, they're going to cause some turnovers, but to that extent, no.
Well, the best is yet to come. The second half, 1 overtime, 2 overtimes. Stick around. The Jimmy Anderson Show will continue. Three-point game at halftime of last Saturday's outing. The Beavers ahead of the Oregon Ducks, and you get a nice run to start the second half. Looks like you might be taking charge of the game, but there was a lot of hoop left to be played.
Well, there's a lot of hoops left, and when they have a three-point shooter as proficient as Williams, he hit 3 in a row to put him back in the game. I complained a little bit with our players saying, hey, when we get a lead like that, you can't let Williams get a hot hand, and he certainly did get a hot hand. Whether he earned it or we didn't prevent it, I'm not sure.
Well, he just kept shooting, and eventually that pays off. Let's roll the highlights now of second half action, and David Drakeford picked up where he left off in the first half, gets inside, draws the foul, three-point play opportunity. With the little man going to the hoop.
Well, he had a little bit of a lane there. He was in heavy traffic, the little guy up with the tall furs here. But he was able to scoop it in.
That makes it a 4-point game. Now on the transition, and a lot of good transition hoops in this game. Brent Berry will take the J.
Well, during this period, too, we're shooting free throws. We shoot 16 for 31, which is very ugly free throw shooting. And then in the clutch time, we start hitting and we shoot 15 for 17. But the up and down part of our free throw shooting certainly looked like it was going to be a real problem for us.
Another one for the highlight reel. Steph Brown finds Brent Berry. Get another look at this one. Immeslap. And now the lead balloons to 15 points. Jelani Boleen goes solo to the hoop. It's 57-42, just inside of 11 minutes to play in the game.
Well, he's trying to force Jelani there in a good spin move and penetration. A lot of times you can't take it all the way, and he did an excellent job making good judgment that it was open.
Things getting a little heated out on the floor.
Well, here's the rivalry coming back. I think this is some of the things that you really can't have a handle on it during the game, but I think it was a very heated contest, and that was showing that some of the feelings were coming to the surface.
Orlando Williams lights him up. 1 for 7 in the first half, ends up with 30 points, 9 out of 26. Parker helps him get back into it. 12-0 run for Oregon. It's 57-54. Come down to the other end, a big basket for Jerron Brown.
A nice feed by Brent, a little penetration. And overall, we did a good job on Wilkins. We kept him on the perimeter. He didn't get as many as assists as he usually does. Here's a 4-point play that really hurt us, and it could have this could have been the play that really put us under, but our players kept working back.
Here's Jelani finding Jerron, 71-69. Oregon took the lead on that 4-point play now in the final 2 minutes, and then Brent will foul out of the game. A very questionable call on the 4th foul, and he goes out with 1:19 to play.
Well, there's a lot of flopping going on, and he left himself open a little bit by going a little bit too deep. Kind of questionable, but still it was against us, and he's on the bench.
Steph ties it at 71. Now the Ducks pull ahead at the free throw line, but when Kenya Wilkins misses this one, it leaves the door open. 3-point lead in the final seconds, and it's hero time for Jelani Boleen. He's looking at it all the way. This ties it, and we're going overtime. Did you know he was going to shoot as you saw him bringing it down?
No, I didn't know he was going to shoot. And as he later said, he was kind of looking to dish it to somebody on the wing, but he pulled it up, and I tell you, it was a godsend that he was able to. There's a little pressure on him, too.
Bing. We're going OT. And all of a sudden, this crowd is on fire. Now, at the end of regulation, 0.4 seconds left. Ducks call a timeout. They didn't have any timeouts left, but you don't get the technical. You might have won this game at the free throw line, but instead we're going to the OT.
Well, that was kind of the heated part of the game, and it seemed like you should have called it. But when you win the game, you don't look as critical at some of the situations that develop.
Now in the first OT again, make him at the free throw line, and this doesn't go to the second overtime. Here's Leiden tying it up, 80-80, and we go to the second OT. Steph Brown had a chance to win it at the end of the first overtime. But again, those free throws, really, that made a difference.
Oh, look at those offensive boards. That was 3 attempts right there alone, and we're scurrying around trying to get it, and it just seems like they're getting the bounces and hustling to them, and they're making their plays also.
Steph from way downtown, we're going double OT. And finally, in the second overtime, 5 Ducks foul out of the game. And Jerron Brown gets you started with a big three-point play, and then in the second overtime, you make the free throws and then put the game away.
Well, that's a nice play, and it shows when you use your spin and you use the open hand to take it to the basket, he comes up with a very, very important play for us.
And we said JB has been playing very well as of late. More and more aggressive inside and getting the boards even in traffic.
Well, 18 rebounds, and he's not the most physical person in the world. He got bumped and bruised around, but he has lots of courage, and he has a very, very definite, great second overtime for us.
And here he is even defensively, rejecting Leiden up top. Big block here.
Well, I think he had 46 minutes. And for a freshman to play that long and be so effective and not tire shows that he has lots of courage.
And you put it away at the free throw line again, making most of them in the final OT. David Drakeford puts a couple more down, and it's over at last. A long afternoon, almost 3 hours of basketball, 101-91 the final. Look at some of the final numbers, and there's a lot to talk about. You get back and you win the battle of the boards. Turnovers calm down in the second half. And again, you hold Oregon under 40% shooting individually. And look at the minutes. David Drakeford, 42. Jerron has 43. Stephen, 46. And the big O for Oregon, Orlando had 48. It was that kind of game for the Ironman.
Yeah. Oh, he had a nice game. He brought him back, and he made a couple plays at the end that hurt him on one traveling call. But all in all, he was the one they went to when they needed it. He got him back in. He's a fine player.
So you split the season series and conference, get 2 out of 3 from the Ducks on the season. You win that part of the rivalry. Now you look on to the rest of the season. A lot of challenges still out there.
Well, we have 8 games remaining, 4-4. We've got 2 tough games coming up. The Washington schools are playing very well. So we're hoping to finish strong, have a better record in the second half of the season. We got a good start. We're 1 up with the win against Oregon.
And we'll talk about the upcoming weekend a little later on in the show. When we come back, we'll meet our feature player of the week. It was Mr. Clutch, Jelani Boleen. He'll join us when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Now, you had to figure out that Jelani Boleen would be our player of the week after making the big shot, sent the game to overtime, the freshman out of Chicago. We got to talk about the shot first. I mean, that's what everyone's talking about around Corvallis and Oregon after that game. When did you know you were going to take the shot?
Well, I was just trying to, push it up if I saw somebody, but it wasn't that much time, so I just let it go. I felt it.
Now, I know Tony Rockland told me today that you make that all the time in practice, but in the game, he's never seen you take one like that.
Yes, well, just about getting my confidence and everything.
I know we talked before the season even started, and you were pretty confident you'd be getting some playing time on this team, and it's kind of worked in slowly. Are you happy with the way your season's come along?
Yeah, it's been coming in slowly. I've been improving. Coach been telling me just to work hard and improve on my quickness. And I've just been trying to work hard in practice.
So how's he doing so far?
He's doing great. He's really picked up in practice, and that's where you really learn the game, and that's where you get your confidence, and that's where you develop your skills, your toughness, your execution. He's picked it up about unbelievably 25 to 30% in his energy and work ethic, and he wants to help, and he made a commitment, and he's earning the time. It's not like I'm giving him anything. The opportunity was there, and he saw it, and I don't think he was pleased the way the season was going. I wasn't. We had a little talk. He's very intelligent and he understands things, so I don't think it was a real problem. It was just the fact to understand what he needed to do, and he went to work, basically what he did. He went to work, and he's getting the job done, and he's getting more time, and he's helping the Beavers, and that's what it's all about.
Now, Jelani, you came out of a great high school program in Chicago, so I mean, you were into that groove of good Chicago-style basketball, and you're ready to bring a little of that to the Pac-10, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm ready to bring some Chicago, show them what Chicago about, the Midwest.
And we got, after the All-Star game this weekend, Scottie Pippen gets the MVP. Is that one of your guys with the Bulls?
Yeah, he's a real good player. I saw him when he first came, and it seemed like working with Jordan just helped him out a lot.
Talk about the energy on this team right now. You get a big win. This has to energize you all thinking about the rest of the year. And with the Arizona and UCLA rematches coming up here, I mean, you guys want to show that those teams aren't 40 points better than you are.
Right. I mean, well, this is a new half of a season. Just the last half, we want to go out strong and show that we're an up-and-coming team.
That's a great jumping-off point, the overtime win against Oregon. And now you're saying you've never had a chance to make a buzzer beater in a championship game, but you have had a chance sometime in your high school career to win a game with a shot like that.
Yes.
So there's nothing new. You do it again. Take that shot again.
We'd let him take the shot again.
Okay. You got the confidence in it.
Yeah, right.
All right. Jelani, thanks for joining us. It's time now for our blast from the past. Charlie Sitton, McMinnville High School, 1981. He comes to the #1 ranked team in the country, plays as a freshman, puts in a great 4-year career, ends up with the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA. Charlie's leading a very different life nowadays, and I visited him on the job this past week. This is Charlie Sitton's world these days. It's outdoors, much like the farm in McMinnville, but a little different business. The world of construction. And Charlie, you've kind of married into the construction business, and this is your life these days.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about it every day. Something new and something different, and it's real exciting for me. I've enjoyed it. It's definitely a new challenge.
Talk about the business life a little bit in contrast to the basketball life. That's got to seem pretty far away now.
Yeah, the basketball, it's been 2 years. Last couple of years I'd coached in it, so I kept kind of in some type of ties with it. This is the first year I really actually haven't done anything with basketball. This project's been good because it's taken my mind totally off of that, and we worked hard on this project. It's been 9 months to a year putting it all together by the time we negotiated on the property and the right kind of building, and it's been a real learning process.
You obviously have to be a team player, and I hate to use the pun, but that is really part of this, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, there's some things you can't take away from the time I spent playing basketball. It's, you know, you get used to working with a group of guys. You know, we're working with the framers, we're working with the brick masons. You know, you try to help them out and whatever it takes to get the job done so we can get it up.
Now, do you ever have any advice for Jimmy as one of your old coaches?
Oh no, I let Jimmy do his own coaching, and I call him up and tease him every once in a while about some different things, but generally, you know, I just, you know, like I like the guys, you know, of course it comes from, you know, I played hard, and I played, because I didn't have a lot of athletic ability, I didn't think. I was tall, but, you know, I had to do all the little things and play hard to be successful, and I think that's why it's a lot easier for me to go watch this year's team than it was maybe a past year before. When
take me back to 1981. We always end up talking about that basketball team, and you came to that team as a freshman. I mean, there was a lot of expectations coming from that team at McMinnville, all of a sudden being on the #1 ranked college team in the country.
It was a lot of fun, and I think the neatest thing was it was a bunch of guys from Oregon, and a lot of us now have stayed here in Oregon and stayed pretty close in contact.
And Always good to hear from Charlie Sitton, and a nice tribute, I think, to this year's team, saying that he respects the way you guys play because they work hard like he had to.
Well, we play hard. As everybody knows, we're a young team. We've had a lot of injuries, and I'm very proud of this group because every practice they come to work, to learn, and I think Charlie alluded to it, the fact that you play hard. People appreciate that.
When we come back, we'll preview this week's trip, Pullman and Seattle. Up next for the Beavers, the Jimmy Anderson Show will continue. Time now for our Chalk Talk segment. Washington State, the first opponent for the Beavers on Thursday night up in Pullman. Assistant coach Rich Wold with us right now. The Cougs like to do something the Beavers have had a lot of success with, run the 1-4 set. Ralph Miller made it famous. They're getting a lot of mileage out of it, setting up their little men.
Well, they've been very effective with it. Today we're going to look at a couple options off that. Dominic Ellis in this situation has the ball at the point. He's going to hit the high post. Ferguson, their first cutter is the back door, which is Hill. Second cutter, Dominic Ellison. Ferguson will then dribble over to the third cutter, which in this situation is Harris. Then he's going to throw the ball in the reversal to Hill for the little jumper coming off the pick. In your second option we're going to look at, we'll just change the numbers here. Hill will be on the right wing and Harris is on the left. You're going to hit the high post. You got your backdoor cutter. Dominic the second cutter. Ferguson's going to dribble over, give to the third cutter, which is Eddie Hill, and he's going to look for his jumper and nail it.
The Cougars right now 15-8 on the year, sliding a bit in the Pac-10 at 5-6. If Kelvin gets 2 wins this weekend, he gets his 100th victory at Washington State. Tough go in Los Angeles last week for WSU. The Huskies, meanwhile, they're starting to come around. They beat Arizona up in Seattle, and they won at Southern Cal, a thrilling game that went down to the wire last Saturday, and they made the big plays down the stretch. Bob Bender has got them believing in themselves.
Well, they're shooting the ball a lot better, Bob. They've been shooting right around 39%. In the last few games, they're hitting their shots better. They're playing well as a unit. You can see that they're very close as a competitive team. They're making better passes. And so all of a sudden, they're a very competitive group.
Woods made a couple of big shots down the stretch, and they get the victory at SC. So they've won on the road now, and they're going to be feeling good being at home, of course, against the Ducks and the Beavers this week. You go up there, and these are always good, exciting games. The series with Washington has been outstanding over the years. It's been back and forth, home court, home court. But this is a chance to really get something started coming off the big double overtime win.
Well, I think the Oregon schools and Washington schools are close. Maybe Washington State, probably because of their record, is a little better than supposedly by the script. But they're all games could go any way. So it's kind of exciting to go on the road and have a chance to win, but also by going on the road you can lose too. So I think there'll be very tough competitive ball games.
Let's take a quick look at the Pac-10 standings going into this week's round of play. And of course the big game is UCLA at Arizona. If the Bruins win, I got to think they're taking charge of the conference race, but I don't know, the Cats at home, and it doesn't seem like any one team wants to really dominate.
No, I'm going to pick Arizona on this one. I think they're going to upset UCLA, and whether it's an upset or not, I'm really not sure, because they're both pretty equal. Arizona at their place is just almost unbeatable.
And of course the positioning going on right now for that fourth spot, that appears to be the key final postseason berth, at least in the NCAA tournament. Sun Devils seem to have the edge right now.
Well, they beat Stanford, and that was a tough loss for Stanford. But, you know, Washington State can move back up into that group, and who knows? We're all down here at the little group at the bottom. We're all trying to climb up, so maybe we'll catch some of those people under us.
Now, my thanks again to Darrell Lonnie for sitting in his seat last week. We'll see you next time on The Jimmy Anderson Show.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi everybody, I'm Bob Akamian along with the coach. Welcome to this week's edition of Jimmy Anderson Show, the place to talk Oregon State basketball. Although these past two games, I know you don't want to talk too much about. A tough trip up to Washington.
Well, we can talk about it, but let's just not linger on it too long.
Done deal.
The fact that we went into two relatively tough places to play, teams that we felt we had a good chance of beating, we shot horribly at both places. Some of it's by their defense, but a lot of it was by our own remission, so to speak, and being able to get the ball through the hoop. And all of a sudden, we're in trouble at both places.
Yeah, it's kind of it's one of those old buzzwords of coaching: patience, patience, patience. Maybe you get better shots.
Well, that's part of it too. But let's say at Washington State, we missed 10 lay-ins the first half. Now, I don't know how you get a much better shot than a lay-in. Our offense actually, and our cutting action was very good early in the game. We missed 5 free throws in a row and 10 layups. You do that and you're going to get pretty much what you got, and that's a pretty good kicking.
I know one of the scary aspects of this weekend was Jerron Brown going down, and we didn't get to see him in the Husky game, but he is back in practice, and we hope to have him back this week.
Well, to start off with, he was, let's say, courageous trying to play against the Cougars, and he couldn't go. His leg was really hurting him badly. But he did give it a try. He was ineffective, and so we just sat him down, and he didn't play against the Huskies. He played a little bit today in practice, and let's just hope this therapy this week that he can play against Arizona.
Okay, I know it's a body you're going to want to have in there on Thursday night when the 9th-ranked Cats come to Gill Coliseum. That's up next, but first we take a look back at this past weekend's action, and we will go to Pullman. This was Thursday night action against the Washington State Cougars, Kelvin Sampson's gang. It is always tough playing them at little barn up in Pullman, and they came out, though, and got off to a spectacular start. Eddie Hill was everywhere, and it was 19-2 quickly.
Well, you saw the lay-in missed on the other end, and there was a charge that wasn't called, and they converted there, so all of a sudden we're not off to a good start.
And Hill had most of his points there in the first half, and the Cougars definitely establish the lead early on. David Drakeford gets things going on an assist from Tony Rockland.
That's a beautiful backdoor play, and I hope that we get the message that that's one of our power plays when all of a sudden they're cutting off our pass to the wing, because that should be one of the things that we capitalize on. Here's a good defensive play and then a recovery, and the bounces were going the right way. Cougars score.
And one more time, Eddie Hill. This time they go long from the big guy Ferguson, and the Cougars out to their biggest lead of the first half. It is 33-9, and then things get going a little bit. Kareem Anderson gets to the hoop a couple of times.
Well, he's been bothered by a bad back, but he's healthy now, and he got some nice lay-ins to start the game. But we got so far behind, we started to explore a little bit, and our best unit was 3 little guys and 2 relatively small people on the inside. Here's an example of what I was just saying, is Jelani puts some defensive pressure on and gets a lay-in for us. So we hustled back and got a little bit respectability, but then in the end, they pretty much blew us out.
Yeah, this was a good run early in the second half. You go about 12-1. Brent Berry gets open, hits a few shots. Tony Rockland will go to the hoop, but Brent really drove this little sequence.
Right, but we had 4 guards in there in Rockland, and all of a sudden we put some defensive pressure on, some passing. Here's another good play by Rockland, hustling and getting the loose ball and getting the lay-in. But all in all, we didn't play a very good game. I tell you, it's kind of hard to face the media after a weekend like this, but the truth is the truth. We just have to get better. We got kicked pretty hard. We made some nice plays. We hustled to the end, but decision making and some of our execution was not to what we need.
Brent Berry again. As we get down into crunch time, Brent again had the most action in the second half, ended up with the big second half for OSU. And the run was eventually thwarted by the Cougars, who do pull away for the victory. This time Brent with the assist.
Well, there's a good assist, a good playmaking move. You get somebody up and make a play for your teammate, and that's the concept of team basketball, is when you're always looking with the ball to create something for a teammate, and there's a nice little play there again for us. Good screen by Brent, good pass, triangle of 3. That's team basketball.
And you say goodbye to Pullman. The final score was 101-64. The numbers in that game, and you look at rebounding numbers and turnovers, and it was at times in the first half it was even worse than that in the proportion. But turnovers early makes a big
missed
difference.
lay-ins, turnovers, and then you try to play catch-up ball with what we have right now, and the injury to Jerron Brown. And Stephen Brown had 7 or 8 turnovers, and it was because of a bad back. He couldn't even pick up loose balls that were on the floor. So the injuries were there. Execution was poor. Washington State played very well, and we tried to play catch-up, and it was a bad loss.
Individually, quickly, Brent Berry ended up with 19 points. Stephen Brown had 13, but struggled shooting the ball, and Eddie Hill again had 22 points, and I believe 20 of those came in the first half. Coming up, we'll take a look at the Saturday encounter, the Huskies at Heck Ed, as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues.